Hi, everybody. Okay, so we're back with what could be the last part. Well, this actually probably won't be the last part. We'll have one more, at least one more. But what we're going to do in this one is add delete. So we have get, we have post, we have put, and now we're going to add delete to round out the API. So that means we can get records, we can create records, we can update records, and now we need to be able to delete records. So we're going to go ahead and add the delete button right next to this on the client side, and then we'll add the server side REST controller to handle that, and that'll be delete, and then we'll have to remove it from here. So we're going to bounce back and forth between the client and the server. So what we have now is we can click on records, and they'll appear up in here. So then we just need a delete button right there. So let's go ahead and go into our client-side code, and that is index.html, which we happen to be on. And let's go ahead and find the button. So we've got a button here, and that is our submit button. So we actually just need a regular type button, not a submit button. And then we're just going to call this one delete. And now these are classes here, and we'll learn more about this in the front end courses, but this is a Bootstrap button primary, so they have different colors of things, and I don't remember which one's which, but I think danger is one, and that should be red. All right, so here's another Bootstrap thing. They have everything layout is broken into columns. So 12 is the full width, so call 12. It means it takes up 12. So this would mean that it's going to take up 12 for this button and take up 12 for this button. Let's go ahead and split that. And actually, I don't know if I want to split that. Probably what I want to do is let's just do this. And I don't know what this is going to do, but let's see what happens. So if we put this on another line inside of this column, let's see what it looks like. Refresh the page. Okay, that's what I wanted. All right, it's got a save and a delete button. So if we click the delete button, nothing happens right now. So we need to add a listener to the delete button. So we probably have one on our form for submit, right? Let's go ahead and add an event listener on that delete button. So I kind of know how to do it because we have this here. And it's going to be similar. We're going to get the button and we're going to add an event listener on click most likely. But let's pretend we don't know anything right now, or at least not enough to know how to do it. And let's do MDN, Mozilla Developer Network. And we want add event listener button click. Okay, so it's event target, add event listener, type, and listener. So we could use the syntax. I'm sure they have examples down here. Mozilla Developer Network. Documentation is really good. So they got null no with options. Here's some examples here. And then here's a good example there. They've got their modify text button here. For reuse, that's good, but we only need this. So we're going to get an element. Let's just copy this because that looks good. You really shouldn't copy, though. So I'm not going to copy because I need to start kind of doing it like you guys do. I've been doing this for a while, so copying is, I don't know, not really supposed to be doing it anyway. So let's go ahead and just try and do it. All right, so we need to get the element, so let's do that. We're just going to add it right here. So const, because it doesn't change. And let's call it delete. And delete's probably not a good word here. Probably a keyword. All right, so delete button. And then we're going to do document.getElementById. And we're going to get delete. So I'll have to add delete to the button as an ID, which I have not done. So let's go ahead and do it here, right at the front. ID equals delete. All right, now I can get delete. Where is that? There it is. Okay, and then next thing I want to do is similar to what's up here. I'm going to do delete button. Dot add event listener. And the ID is helping as well. We wanted click is what it was, and then it was a function. It takes an event. And then I can't remember what the third parameter was. I never really used that. False. I don't know what that means. Let's see what it means up here. They mentioned it up at the top. Options. Use capture. What is use capture? So optional capture is a Boolean indicating that events of this type will be dispatched to the registered listener before dispatched to any event target beneath. It's fine to leave it blank because that'll just end up being false by default. All right. So then here we're just going to console log out that it's doing it for right now. I just try to get to something quick to verify that it's wired up right before I get too far. All right, so back to the address book, which is here, and refresh and delete. Okay, we've got the delete action working. All right, next thing to do is send a delete request to the server. And it's probably a fetch thing. Let's see how we do that. So again, and I probably have one over here, but let's pretend it's a fresh search. I'm going to start having a billion tabs open. Okay, so mdn url fetch delete. How about example? Delete HTTP. All right, let's try this one because it actually has the word URL fetch in it. And let's search for the word delete. Okay, those are methods. And there's a header. Okay, doesn't really tell us much, but it's giving enough information here. We just want to fetch with this method. All right, so we can do that. We have enough code over on our side to do it. So it looks like we just put a delete here. And, well, let's see what happens. Okay. See if we have enough to go on. All right, so we've got in here, we're going to do fetch. And we're going to call addresses. And let's put the ID right here as a path parameter. Okay, so whatever address we're doing is the one that we want right there. So let's get our ID. And how did we do that before? Did we do it up here somewhere? Okay, document element ID. That sounds great. Let's do that. Okay, so we've got value, semicolon, and it's a constant because it's not going to change. And we can paste it right here. Or not paste, but append it right there. So fetch is going to fetch this address with this ID, and we're going to fill in the body, and our method, which is here, is going to be delete. That should actually be enough, but we want to get some other things here. So we've got a response. I don't know if we're going to return anything, but maybe we should. All right, so we've got a fetch method delete. This isn't a good one to look at, or maybe it is, but let's look at a more complete one that we have up here. This one's got the method, the headers. They don't have a body. We don't have a body. So we just need to close that right there. So we need to close this. We don't need the comma. And then we can add the response. So we have dot then, and then we do response. And that goes to response JSON. Will we return JSON? I don't know. Well, let's assume that we do for now. And then we probably just want the response code, really. Let's see what we have here. Let's just do this one. I don't think we need to do any more than that. So here's that. And let's correct the indentation. Wonder why that went funny. Okay, that ends there. This is complaining about something. That's there. This. Something's complaining. All right, so we've got that fetch being closed there. All right, that's better. So we need to put the comma here. So it's the URL, then here's the body. that goes in, and we can confirm that looking at our working one. There's a comma, there's the body. So that's what was wrong with this one. And now we've got a response coming in as OK. If it's not OK, we're going to throw another exception, and then we want to catch an error. And I'm taking this from our own working example. So I'm OK copying and pasting that one. But again, while you're learning, don't copy paste. Okay, it's complaining because there needs to be a curly brace that matches that one. Okay, I expect an error because we don't have a server for this delete button. But let's see what happens. And it's actually a good thing if we get an error because it means it's wired up right. All right, so let's add Tom over there. How about Tim? All right, ready? Let's clear this by clicking the clear console, and we'll hit delete. All right, we got an error, which is good. 404, not found. Okay, so now we can go to our server side and add our controller method. So back on the server, we go into our addresses controller, or address controller, and now we're going to add delete mapping. So let's go ahead and do @delete mapping, and public. We'll return back the address we got, and let's do delete address. And we don't have a request body at this time. This time we're going to have a path param, and that's going to be the ID we want to delete. So that's a string, and it's ID. All right, so what does path param actually mean? And it's complaining, so I hit, is it command dot in this one? No. I'm confusing my IDEs, so Alt Enter. That's IntelliJ. Command dot is this one. So it doesn't know what path param is. Either that or there's no path parameters defined here. So we've got addresses up here already. So we should just be able to do this in quotes and then ID like that. And path param probably needs that. And then this is complaining because it doesn't return, must return a method. All right, so then what we're going to do is let's get it from our addresses collection. Oh, from our address service. And do we have a get? We don't yet. All right, so we're going to add that. All right, so we don't have an address yet. So let's make this. So if I do command dot here, create method, and then I should function F12 in. Okay, so now let's get an address by returning addresses. Wait, we're on Java, not JavaScript, so I want to do a get here, ID. All right, so that'll get us our address. And so then when we go back to our controller, it's complaining because we're not returning anything. So now we can return this address. And really, I could shorten this because if I'm not going to use the variable, I don't really need it. So a cleaner, more maintainable thing to do is to just do that. Okay, so now it's going to return the address. But actually, I did need that because I'm going to delete this address. I only need it to return it. So then here I'm going to do addresses. Oh, it's address service. And I'm going to add the delete method, ID. Okay, and then we're going to command dot to create the delete method, and then function F12 to hop into it. And then here we're going to do addresses dot remove ID. All right, that should get rid of it. All right, so now let's go back to the controller. And we've got delete, and we're returning the address. Now, delete probably returns what we want. Let's see. If I do remove, what does it do? I'm going to F12 into the code. It's going to return something. It returns the previous value associated with it. So it would give us what was there. And that's probably not a bad thing. So if we come back here, we could actually clean up some of our code, as in we don't need to make this get call. And we could just return this. And why does return void? Because we didn't allow delete to actually return anything. So let's hop into that with F12, and let's do a return. And we're going to return the address. All right, now it should be happy. So we need to restart the server. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, well, here we are on the server side. I'm going to refresh, which we restarted, so we're empty. So let's go ahead and add a few records. Let's add Tom. And let's go ahead and add Tim, and we'll delete him. There he is. All right, so we're going to save that. So let's go ahead and select a couple records. And we have Tim. And let's hit the delete button and see what happens. All right, we got an expected end of JSON input. What actually happened? I don't know. I don't see an error here. Let's refresh this page. Okay, Tim is still in there, so my guess is it didn't delete. So here is where it would have come in. So let's do a breakpoint, and let's restart our server with debug, because I am not sure what's going on. So let's do debug. All right, and we've got a breakpoint over there. So now we need to refresh because the records are all gone because we restarted. And let's do Bob. Clear the form, and let's do Tim, and we'll just delete Tim straight away. Select Bob, select Tim, and delete. All right, here we are. We have not an ID. So this path param, I might not have done this right. That's very possible. So let's see. How do we do this? Let's do Spring boot path param. Path param versus path variable. Might have something wrong there. All right, let's do this. Request mapping. Let's do this. Spring boot delete mapping, and we want path variable. Maybe it's supposed to be the path variable that I used. Let's see, delete mapping. Okay, so we have a delete mapping with an ID. We've got our resources pulled up. Stack Overflow is usually a good source. So for delete by ID, mapping is fine using a path variable. So, oh, okay, that looks right to me though. All right, delete mapping resources. So value equals name. That's interesting. I don't know if I like this answer for being clear. For delete by name, you can take the name as a query parameter. Well, let's try it and see what happens. Oh, I don't see that much difference in this because I think the default is actually the name. So let's go ahead and put value equals. I don't think that's going to matter though. But let's try it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let this run through since we made the change. And we'll stop the server. Okay, and let's restart it in debug mode. All right, and let's try and delete that record again. I don't think that makes a difference, but maybe it does. All right, Bob's there. Let's go ahead and clear the form and add Tim. Select Bob, select Tim, and delete. Still have null on there, so that didn't make a difference. So something's not quite right here. So we're posting to addresses. Delete. All right, so let's go back to Google and try and find a better answer. Let's use this one. This is a tutorial. So they're telling us how to do it. It's got the Maven dependency. So they're setting up a full example for us. So we just have to go ahead and find where they're doing what we want to do. And they've got a delete mapping, value equals posts, ID, path variable. So I think path variable is the problem. Let's try it. And do they have... So they've got that going. Okay, so value is this value of the mapping. We've got our addresses up there, so we should just be able to do /ID here. And then let's see if our variable gets filled in. So my guess is we don't have to do this value, because I don't ever remember doing that before, unless there's other things with it. So that should just pass that into here, and that should work. Or maybe it's here. Let's see what happens, because they're not doing a path variable with the name here. Let's do what they're doing. So I think it's going to use this ID and capture it here. So let's try it. There's a lot of magic that Spring Boot does for you automatically. All right, so restart the server. And really, we're just looking for the ID to be filled in. Could not open application. Okay, and here we go. All right, so restarted, so we need to add some records. Okay, let's delete Tom. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Sometimes the ID gets confused when there's too much going on. I must have too many processes running. See if we could stop them all. All right, looks like everything stopped now. Let's see. Debug. Okay, we'll try that again. Refresh. Save. Clear. Save. All right, so now we'll select Tom and try and delete. Hey, there it is. Okay, so path variable is what we want. It's going to take the variable that we have here. There's our ID. That should delete it from there, and we're going to go ahead and just let that run through. And we did not get an error here. If I refresh, Tom should be gone. And he is. So now we need to go ahead and do something with the record we get back. All right, so now we'll go back to our client side, and we can leave this thing running. And what we want is our index page. And then we've got delete. We've got our response coming in here. Return response JSON. Okay, let's do this with the data. Let's do a then. And data goes to this function block. All right, so then what is going to be in our function block? I am not sure. We've got address. So let's go ahead and call this address instead of data. Okay, so now we've got the address. So we can get the address ID, and we're going to want to remove that row. So we're going to do document, because we want the row that belongs to. So get element ID by ID, and we're going to get the address ID, because remember, that's what it's called on our table row template. And I think it's .remove, but I am not sure. So let's go to MDN, and let's say MDN element remove. And it looks like it's just element.remove. We can read the documentation, but that kind of looks like it. There it is, element, get by ID, remove. Okay, and that's what we have. So that should actually remove it now. So let's go ahead and refresh, and we should still have Bob because we didn't restart the server. Let's add Tim. All right, so now if we delete, it should delete from the server and delete from here. Okay, ready? Here we go. And we got an error instead. I can't say that's not expected. 405 error, what does that mean? Operation not permitted? I can't remember what that is. 405. Method not allowed. So it didn't allow the delete method. I thought we've already been using the delete method. We didn't change anything. Let's restart the server. That's weird. Why would it do that? Okay, here we go. We'll just run it this time. Okay, back to here. Refill in some records. All right, so let's see if we get a delete on this. Okay, that worked. It's just something goofy with the server for whatever reason. Just needed to restart it. All right, so let's go ahead and create another record. Actually, if we created Tom again, he still filled in. Let's clear the form on delete. After this delete button, let's clear the form. So that way that's not still in there. Does that make sense? Because if we delete, the record's gone, but this thing's still here. So if we save, we get it back. Nice feature, but probably not what we want. So after the delete, we want to clear the form. So let's see how you clear a form in JavaScript. So let's do mdn clear form JavaScript. Form element reset. So we're going to get the form element and then call a reset. So let's find something that gets our form, although we could probably figure it out. Okay, we already have it. It's right here. So we could just do form on this. So after that's removed, we're going to do form.reset. I wonder why it wasn't helping with that. All right, here we go. All right, so Bob's there. Let's add Tom. All right, and then let's delete Tom. I see what's going on. That ID isn't filled in when the record's coming in, so it doesn't know what the ID is. So that's what's going on. So if we refresh this, now it'll work just because the ID is now filled in. So if we delete, it's gone and it cleared the form. So let's go ahead and explain that a little bit better. So in here, when we do our post or put, we're not filling in the ID, which I thought we were. So let's see that, because that seems to be what's going on. So let's see what happens. So let's go ahead and add Tom back. And we're going to hit save. And if we go to Bob, let's delete Bob. Okay, that deleted him fine. All right, now let's delete Tom. And I expect this to error. Nope, it worked fine. All right, try again. Let's add Bob. Let's clear form. Let's add Tim this time. What happened to our record? Oh, it must have been in edit mode. Let's refresh, see what we have. Okay, so let's try this again. So we've got Bob, save. We've got Tim. Okay, make sure the ID is changing up above. All right, let's delete. Okay, trying to track down this bug. And delete, that works. Save and delete. Okay, it's working fine now. Tim, save, clear form, Bob, save. Hey, clear form. It edited this record. Did you notice that? this again. Tom. We're trying to duplicate the issue that we're seeing. All right, so that's a record, and this is here. So if I refresh and then add another record, okay, it adds that. So let's do clear form here, and let's put in Tim, and let's save. Does it change Bob or does it add? Okay, it added, so it's working fine. And if we click delete, that's when we get the error. So we just added the record, and on delete, it couldn't find something. All right, so let's see what. So we're still trying to duplicate the problem. All right, so let's refresh, and let's select Bob and delete. Okay, that worked. All right, let's do David. Save, and he's still in there. So how about delete? Okay, that worked. All right, how about? Oh, I think I know what it is. If we change records. Save. Delete. Okay, I think I know what it is. Let's go here. We'll add Bob. Okay, he's there. We're going to go to Tim or Tom. We're going to go to Bob, and if we delete, it should break. Nope, it works. All right, we've got an intermittent problem. We're at past 30 minutes, so let's go ahead and stop this video, and we'll get back into debugging this problem, and that might be the last video that we do in this series. Okay, that's it for delete, and we've got a full REST API. We have a client-side issue that we're going to resolve in the next part. Thanks for watching.